right. Good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can all hear me and see my screen. I've got a blue screen up with the title of today's webinar, Reverse Publishing AI Generated Content. And we're excited to bring this topic to you today. This is all brought to you by Our Hometown. My name is Matt Larson. I'm the president and CEO of Our Hometown. And today, to help me with the demo is Christopher Winders joining us from upstate New York. Hey, Chris, how's it going?
Going well. Good afternoon, Matt.
So we're going to get to Chris's demo in a minute. He's been really leading the charge on a lot of the R&D in the AI space here. And what today's webinar is completely efficiency, basically, is the name of the game. Because we've been helping publishers do reverse publishing from WordPress to InDesign for years, and there's an efficiency gain there that I'll talk about. But now with the emergence of the large language learning models, we can increase efficiency and productivity with AI on the content creation side. So it all plays in together, as you'll see. So with that, I want to just switch it over to some quick background on Our Hometown. I know we've got a lot of customers on with us today, so you all are familiar with us, but also a lot of new faces. So just wanted to give you some background on where we're coming from with this. We manage newspaper websites, hundreds of newspapers, I think it's about 300 now across North America. We also do native apps. And we're really working with community newspapers, a lot of weeklies. And it's all on a WordPress-based platform. So we'll be talking about that today. That's our frame of reference for everything. We've customized the platform for local newspaper publishers. And it's constantly evolving with the feature set growing based on publisher feedback. And that's what really my goal with these webinars is to not only educate and inform on the products we have, but also to learn from our audience and what you're looking for. So any feedback is welcome, as Chris said. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and please locate the chat. And if you would actually just type your name and maybe the paper you're with in the chat, just to introduce yourself to the group. So quickly, I just want to start off so that we're all on the same page, because I know we're coming to this webinar for different reasons. You see the title, and maybe different parts interest you. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with reverse publishing. That term reverse publishing, a lot of newspaper publishers don't seem to even really embrace that much. It's more of a technical term or like a web term, because it's really the reverse of the traditional newspaper workflow is the way I like to think of it. So of course, before the internet, you had your publisher putting articles in InDesign for print layout, and then the print edition would come out. Well, when the internet came up and just sort of wedged its way into everything, the newspaper industry at first adapted. We've been in this business for 26 years. My father started in 1996, so or 27 years. And back then people were just getting the internet or the PDF out there any way they could. So that was sort of like the introduction of the e-edition. And then, things continued to evolve, and the social web developed, as well as all the search engines, primarily Google and Facebook, kind of representing those industries. And so now an e-edition really didn't work anymore because you needed it to have HTML content. So that created the need for a CMS, which a lot of newspapers, they either developed their own or they went with a vendor. WordPress is the one we use. It's the most popular CMS in the world by the count of websites. But that's, because it's a blogging platform that we've adapted for newspapers. But that's kind of the change in the content flow there with the development of the social web in Web 2.0, as it's called. And then I like to kind of think of there was a phase in there, or we're still kind of in this phase, many of us, where we could look at making that whole workflow more efficient with reverse publishing. So that would be Web 2.1. The workflow revolves more around the website. The WordPress website in this case is the the CMS that's where all the data is going, and then it's fed off in multiple directions. So we're kind of flipping this whole end of the workflow around. So the print edition comes out at the end of the week, and this allows you to do real-time publishing, for your audience throughout the course of the week as a weekly print edition. But now what we're seeing is this higher level thing that's kind of come out of nowhere to many of us, AI, which is really kind of comes from a lot of the data that's out there on the social web and just Wikipedia and the web in general. That's so there's actually kind of an arrow coming up and around here that's created these natural language processing models that allow us to structure the web, or are structuring the web for us and creating the so-called semantic web, which is Web 3.0. There's also some blockchain elements to this. So when you hear Web 3.0, you think blockchain and semantic web. And there is cryptographic science and technology going into sort of copywriting and putting digital watermarks on AI generated content. So it does kind of play into the blockchain stuff too. But anyway, the point is you've got AI that can generate content now. That's really the key. You've got this Chat GPT thing that everyone's heard about that's creating text, it's creating image content, and then we can feed that back to the publisher that can do the editing and the final proofing to publish it to WordPress and get it out to the world. But I kind of increase the size of the arrows here because, the productivity is going to be much higher with these tools that'll basically are copy editors. They'll do a great first draft for you on the content, and then you could just do the editing and, just be much more productive. So that's the idea of how these two technologies of reverse publishing and AI content kind of come together. Okay, so just an overview. We pretty much touched on most of these things, but what is reverse publishing and how can it benefit a newspaper? I tried to demonstrate it in the schematic, but it's like digital first publishing, right? So rather than going through InDesign and then getting to the internet, it can get to the internet directly, basically from the CMS. And then this allows you to write the stories on the website all week long, put out breaking news. As the story evolves, you're making edits. And then finally at the end of the week, when it's time to put together the print edition, you export all the articles to InDesign. So again, most of these things, I really think the key is focusing on the mobile audience. So, just getting all your content out there as quickly as possible in HTML. E-editions really don't cut it anymore. The other thing that's kind of like a side benefit that, if you have the resources to kind of look into the data, you can get so much more information on your audience. Throughout the course of the week, you could be looking at article stats. Maybe you could be A/B testing headlines for the print edition. So kind of using the website as an experimental lab for your articles and just getting real data back in real time. And also just the staff shortages that, we've all faced over the last couple of years. Reverse publishing will just kind of reduce the labor to update the website because it eliminates the need to update it, basically, because you're writing the articles in the website CMS. And if you have any questions at any point, just feel free to drop them in the chat. But now, how can AI be used by a newspaper? So we talked about text content generation for article writing. You can do image generation. We had 2 separate webinars on this the last couple of months where we went into a lot of detail, but we're going to show you the whole thing again today in just a minute. And again, I would just think of AI tools as copywriters, intern level graphic designers that are drafting your content to be proofed by humans. Because I don't know if anyone saw some of the headlines, but there were some major publications, digital only, I think, publications that were just publishing ChatGPT articles without even proofreading them. And that was, just a disaster. So that's just kind of the disclaimer I like to throw out there. We're not claiming that these things are going to run the newspaper for you by any means. There's just tools to increase productivity. Okay, so at this point, I want to switch over to the live demo. We're 10 minutes in. This will probably take up the majority of the webinar. So I'm going to unshare my screen and transfer it over to Chris, who's going to show us, first of all, the WordPress content generator. You can use ChatGPT for this. There's no need to use our tools, but if you are on our platform and you're interested in trying these things out, we're going to be opening a closed beta in the next few weeks. So let us know if you're interested, because we have these content generation tools built right into WordPress. We'll show you that. The AI tools in the block editor. So there's a plugin that we're going to use that has prompts in it to kind of guide you in writing the article as a draft. Then you publish it in the block editor as an actual draft. And there's still AI tools in there for you to edit it later. So it's not kind of boxed into the content generator plugin. So that's kind of a new thing. So I'm excited about that. I wanted to make sure we emphasize it. And then lastly, we're going to have this article. We're going to write about an article that hit really close to home for many of our publishers years ago, the Hurricane Harvey disaster. And we're going to reverse publish it to InDesign. So we're going to show you the entire process that I kind of outlined in the schematic, from publisher to web to print. Okay, so this is what the content generator looks like. So Chris, are you ready for me to switch over to you for the live showing here of this?
Actually, I can just hit the share button. It'll switch directly to me whenever you're ready. This is basically the content generator that lives. This is on our WordPress dashboard that any of our papers will have access to once they go into the beta. There's a toolbar at the top with these cool wands and whatnot. And actually, if you look over here, normally there's just add new post, but this plugin adds a generate new, so it'll bring you directly to this place where you can kind of go through and instead of going through the ChatGPT type of interface, it's much more tailored to how WordPress handles things. So I thought I'd first, before I jump into creating anything, just kind of give you an idea of how this is working. So over here on the left, you have a topic, which would be what you would call your prompt. And then in the middle here, this is where it's going to generate the different types of content that go into making an article, such as the title, any sections, the actual paragraph content, and it can even do the excerpts as well. I'm going to go ahead. You can actually generate multiple types of content, but of course, we want to do an article here. So I'm going to select article, and then we'll come over to the right sidebar, where if for some reason, we had a publisher that needed to work in another language, that's certainly possible. And what's really interesting here is normally you could prompt ChatGPT to have a personality. Say, I want you to be a research intern in grad school and act as a journalist and be very factual and stuff like that. And the language model will take on some of those characteristics with how it responds. So if you look in here, there's quite a few just kind of default keyword type things. So since we're going to do sort of a storytelling one, I think I'm going to go narrative, but in the tone, you also have a lot of the same ones. If you really wanted it to be emotional or professional, in this case, there is a journalistic one down here. So we'll try these out.
Hey, Chris, can I just jump in and make a point here really quick? This is really great stuff, because this is what's key about this plugin, I think. So maybe we could quickly maybe get some feedback from the group. Has anyone used ChatGPT before? If you could drop in your answer in the chat, yes or no, I'd be interested, because if you have, that's just a chat bot, and you really need to kind of know how to use it and know how to prompt it. What I love about this, and what I think the real value, is that it kind of has the prompts built in, and it guides you on what's, how you can kind of just tailor this exactly to the tone you want. Because normally with ChatGPT, you'd have to like actually spell that out, write like a journalist. And so this just kind of will guide you and your staff, I think, to get what you want. So get some feedback here. No, use Jasper. We've seen Kevin's using.
Oh, there you go. Interface tailored to AP style. That's very interesting because this plugin allows you to create templates in such a way that you could save your style for a particular type of content. Let's say you want a sports story that can have its own template, its own styles, even some adjustments. This is a little on the technical side, but this is kind of how the plugin is building the prompts itself. So it's writing an article about the topic that you put in this panel. It takes in the writing styles and adds that to the prompt. And then it also limits it. And you can even come in here and let's say you don't really want a title that's that long. So you can actually manually change these before you even generate. And then you could save that as part of one of these templates over here for reuse. And that's one of the things I think goes right to the efficiency thing that Matt was talking about. You just load up a sports template, give it the prompt, and there you go.
Right.
Clickbait creator.
For headlines.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's
the other thing I will,
right.
and just as another aside, we do have access to several different language models. So Turbo is like the 3.51. GPT-4, as you may or may not know, is a bit more, it's quite a bit more elegant. And its language is much more sophisticated than 3.5. However, it takes a little longer with the high demand and stuff. So we may test that out. So why don't I grab my prompt for the story? Are we ready to move on to that part?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. So I've set it up with the narrative and the journalistic, and here's the prompt. I'd like to write a retrospective on Hurricane Harvey and its aftermath for the Gulf Coast. And it'll do us, I'm just going to leave most of these at the default so you can just see what it does with only the writing style and the tone changed at all. So this will take maybe 30 or 40 seconds. We'll have to see. The title comes up first, obviously, and then it'll use the title, pardon me, the title to generate the sections. And then from each of the sections, it's going to generate 3 paragraphs based upon that. So you can already see the first section is the devastation unleashed. So it starts with kind of the more historical, the realistic side of what actually happened. And then the second section is much more on the positive side, giving us about some of the aftermath and how people came together to rebuild. I will note the reason I chose this topic is because, as you see, Harvey was in 2017, and most of the language models have a cutoff around 2021. So if you were doing more current events, there need to be some workarounds on getting access to some of the latest things. But that's why I chose this one. So let's see. We've got an introductory thing here, and then we've got residents talks about the rain, haunting aftermath, neighbors banded together. So this is actually some pretty cool content that we can use.
Right. Unfortunately, we don't have anyone from Port Aransas on today, but yeah, this would strike close home to them. And I think some of the things to note here are, again, it's just guiding the user through the writing process, so you could go back and regenerate any one of those areas, the sections, the content, or the excerpt.
So keeping with the same title, I asked it to go for 3 sections, and now it's kind of given a pre-storm introduction section that it's going to generate now. The other thing is you can actually type in, you can edit these. So let's say you wanted instead of the devastation raw, let's do a timeline of Hurricane Harvey. And now when I go back and regenerate the content, it will be using my updated section header to generate that section.
Right. Yeah, that is how flexible it is. You can literally, I mean, they're just giving suggestions for the sections. You can go in there and change any part of that, remove, add new sections. Yeah. And
you can even
then,
do a little bit of pre-editing as you go through the content here. Let's say you don't like a paragraph or whatever, or you don't want to mention something. You can remove or add anything, because basically what the plugin is going to do once I say create post is it's just going to copy all this over to an actual article, and then we can switch to the block editor and go make our edits there.
Right. But I learned this week, it's a new feature to me. You can continue to use the AI tools in the block editor. Like you're not done with them. It's just you would sort of be done with this interface once you send it to the post.
Right. You want to do most of your content generation here with the prompts and everything. Basically, you tailor the topic. You can then tailor the title. Then you can edit the section things, and then what comes out in the content, that'll just be regenerated every time. So at this point, you can't quite just go and select this paragraph and say rewrite it. That step happens over in the block editor.
Exactly.
So why don't I go ahead and I'm going to create this post.
Okay.
And then we'll close.
We're still very much just in the digital arena. So this is like, if you can imagine, all week long, you're writing stories. And I guess one thing to note is that this is kind of like a single use thing. So you're not saving them in this format. You can only save them as a post.
Right. And we do have a question. Carolyn is asking, one of my concerns would be the accuracy of the information and its legitimacy, since we are not actually doing the research.
Right.
And that is basically why we're just calling this a fairly decent intern who's not going to get it right all the time. And you basically have to sit over its shoulder and go through and do your due diligence to make sure that what finally goes up on the website does have all the accuracy and legitimacy that you want your customers to enjoy.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of
before I switch over to the block editor, I wanted to go ahead and create a image that I can insert once I'm editing that. So again, up here at the top, we've got our little wand here. So I'm going to click on the images generator, and this is all using OpenAI's technology. So it's using the ChatGPT backend, and it's using DALL-E is their image generation model. So since this is kind of a retrospective and a remembrance, and I wanted to highlight some of the positive things that were happening with the community after the resilience and everything, I decided to use this as a prompt. It's not too specific, but it's a photo of a Gulf Coast beach after a storm with a rainbow and a blue sky, and then a couple of extra prompt things to kind of make it look nice. So I'm just going to generate 3 of these, and this will take just a moment. And what you can do with these, you can either add them. There we go. Those are actually pretty nice. So
this is a live example. You didn't prep this. This is just what
no,
came
not
out
at all. This just came up. So we can pick one, or you can just generate more until you find something that you really like. So I'm going to click on this one. Yeah, that's fine. And as you see, it adds the prompt to all of the metadata. And I wanted to point out, you can either add this directly to your media library, or what's even more cool is you can download it and then use your AI tools in Photoshop, if you want to go so far as to then further tweak this picture and make it even more of what you want to use to go with your story. That's a little beyond this one, getting into Photoshop. For this one, I'm just going to add this to the media library. And then I'll go and we'll swap over to the block editor and see some of the AI tools in action over there. Okay, so it's been added. I'm just going to go to the articles I'm going to go to all articles, just like you would when you're going to do any of the editing of posts that are already on there. And as you can see, it's the one right here at the top. I'm going to make sure I select block edit because the AI stuff doesn't work in the classic editor. This is all in the new block editor on WordPress.
Right.
Okay. And the other thing is, by default, it's creating it just as a big blob of text. So one thing I am going to do is, even though I'm in the block editor, I need to convert the actual content, text content itself to blocks, which is just a matter of clicking that button. And now you see anytime that I'm looking at a paragraph, my toolbar now has that same little wand. That's really kind of cool. So I'll show you a couple of things we can do here. We take a look at this first paragraph, and maybe we just want to enhance the readability. So one of the most devastating, indelible mark, I just want to pay attention to what it's going to be changing.
Yeah, I was just wondering, is there an easy way to track changes or anything? Maybe not.
Well, I could just duplicate the block.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's a better idea. So I'll duplicate the block, and then we'll run the AI enhancement on one of them so we can compare.
Right.
Okay, a highly destructive. Okay, you can see profound, the region, renowned, region known for its serene beauty. So it adjusted tranquility to serene beauty, lively to vibrant community. So it's kind of like a hyped up thesaurus that maintains all of the sentence structure and everything, but and all the semantic meaning, but it gives you just a different flavor of language to use.
Yeah.
So that's
an interesting way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one. The other one would be maybe these two paragraphs are a little more than you needed for this section. So what you can actually do is combine these into a single paragraph block, and then the tool will work on that entire thing. So if we wanted to make this shorter, we just select shorter, and usually it's about a half. Yeah, even more there. And so it halves the length of that. So that could be helpful if you're dealing with word counts and things like that. Let's see.
I just want to say that's super relevant for this discussion, because that's, word count and column length and everything. If you need to tweak the length of your story for print, this would be the tool to do it.
All right. And so let's just say we've done a little bit of that, but now let's go ahead and get our image in. So I'm going to go and add an image block. Then I'll open up the media library, and it should be the most recent one. And you can see I've done this a couple of times. But we'll go ahead and add the one we just created. Okay, and now we can do our normal things here of alignment, all these kind of things, and go through and get rid of a little bit of the extra prompt stuff that doesn't need to be there. And so we've got our caption, and we're getting there. We're getting there. So you could either generate more images to go with this. You can keep tweaking any of the things in here. But what I was finding out earlier is if I want to make a heading here, because let's just say that maybe you didn't get everything you wanted in the original content creation page, and we want to do a little history of the region. Okay, so I'm just going to type that as the heading, and then there's a little bit of a workaround. I'm not sure if everybody can read this, but it says you can type / to choose a block, so directly from a pop-up if you want, or if you press space, it kind of hides the block. And now I'm going to say generate a few paragraphs on the history of Gulf Coast communities. And because it's a prompt, it looks a little weird, but this is I think something that'll probably be refined as the plugin continues to develop.
Right.
But what we found here is if you just go to, let's say, a enhanced text, it's actually going to treat this piece of text as a pseudo prompt, I guess you could describe it as.
Right.
So it's
So
basically
yeah,
doing the same thing we were doing. It's just going to do it in this one block. And so here you go. So now it's
right.
generated this big old paragraph. And of course, maybe we don't want all of that. So the first thing I'm going to do is shorten that.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's almost like, yeah, once you publish it to a post in the block editor, you're not going to really change the meaning of anything using the wand tool. You're just going to change length or detail, I mean, depth, I guess, like reader level, that kind of thing. But if you want to add new content, new information, then you kind of have to get that prompt in
The
there.
source that the source that the information is using is Chat GPT 3.
So yeah, that's just
So it's
the
got access.
publishing.
Yeah, it has access to everything that was ever written about Hurricane Harvey, I'm guessing. And so that's why it's able to answer these fairly accurately.
Good question.
Let's see. So let's see. We're about at 30 minutes. Do you want to go through any more? I think these are basically the main tools that I've been using once we're in the block editor.
Yeah.
Let's see. There is correct text, although since this was already generated by the AI, normally it doesn't make too many grammatical errors. And let's see.
Right.
Joe's asking again. He was asking about the source of the information and everything, including errors or misinformation. Well, what like OpenAI and a lot of these companies are doing is they take that raw data and then they have to go through a very large and long process of pre-cleaning that data to try to remove as much as much stuff that is going to negatively affect the performance of the model. So that's how you end up removing like a hate speech and things like that from the models, or at least train the model in such a way that it will not respond with how to make a napalm in your garage. That's kind of
right
on
yes.
that's on the language model makers themselves.
Right. Yeah, we kind of skipped over this, Joe. I probably shouldn't have, but yeah, there's a whole OpenAI has, a whole system where they have humans basically grading the results of the AI engine and, saying if it's correct or incorrect, or, if one answer is better than the other. So en masse, the idea is that the disinformation, is kind of weeded out and it gets lost as noise. Yeah,
and you can imagine the content on the image and video side that you absolutely don't want to be generated by these models. All things that are illegal, both in information and in images and all that. All of these companies they claim to be doing their best to prevent just the hallucinations and all these things. We can talk a little bit more because as these develop, the language models are going to be augmented with, let's say, more specific data sets, and then you can limit the responses of the model to just those data sets. That's where a lot of companies are moving, where you could envision having the language model use all of its semantic powers, but only answer based upon certain data sets that it's allowed to use for a certain task. And there's a lot of companies that are working on that.
Yeah. For example, Joe, like your newspaper's archives, that's one of the things that we're looking at is using OpenAI's language model to understand the words in your archives, but not really using them as a search engine, using your archives as the search engines. So then you could kind of almost envision like a chat bot that's like a local historian that could answer using only information that you've published, creating answers based on information you've published. So that would kind of, I think, help with some of your concerns, it seems, but that's a little down the road. We're just using the OpenAI model right now, just, as it stands, but we're looking to integrate with archives.
So we had another question. can you ask it about if I can spell here. So let's just say government assistance, and I will put a person's name in here, or maybe I'll ask it who came to visit the Gulf Coast after the hurricane. Let's see.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that we could say with this, but I mean, Debbie, one thing I would note that I've heard that several times from the founder of OpenAI and many other sources, that it's not really a search engine right now. It's more of a logic engine. So you really want to feed it the facts as much as you can, and then use it to, as a writer, but you don't really want to use it as a search engine as much, because it does sometimes get that stuff wrong. But and there have been plenty of news articles that have gone viral about this. So that's kind of where we're at. I think it's a natural language processing model, but that's really all that you can depend on it, is to write grammatically correct sentences, to write logically sound paragraphs and essays. But the facts, you really need to make sure you get those straight. Make sure it gets those straight.
Yeah, even with that, it didn't give anybody specific specific names.
Okay. So, Carolyn, what you're asking, I think, is a great question. Can we put
that's a good
original piece, right? Like, can we put an original piece into the system and prompt it to edit the story, sort of using it backwards? I wouldn't consider that using it backwards. That's just using it in a new way. You don't need to have it write the first draft for you. You could draft it up yourself and then just say, shorten this or write this for a fifth grader, or whatever you need to do. It's a great question. Okay. Yeah. So you're working on a prompt for getting real people, and we want to see how accurate it is.
Yeah. I just want to see if it'll give like the head of FEMA or something, there.
Yeah. 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 This is the type of stuff, as you play with it, you'll see there's almost nothing that you get out of it the first time is exactly what you want. You just got to learn to play with it.
And the one thing I would say, also addressing Carolyn's question, is this system, like if you're working on, there we go, we got the governor in there. Okay, FEMA, John Reynolds, there we go. Okay, now we got it. Now, obviously, this is, I just wanted it to give me everything to see what we could get. But yes, so it basically does have access to Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, FEMA, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we can get information about that. But of course, you'd want to double check and do a quick search and make sure that the deputy administrator of FEMA, well, when did he come down and all those kind of things. But you can use actual people, especially if they're noteworthy in government and things like that. There'll be plenty of stuff out there for the language model to draw from.
Right. Debbie, thank you for these questions. These are great. I just want to make sure I address all your questions. I came in late, so I'm not sure we've been over this, but I see you are writing all your prompts linked together with no breaks. Right. Yeah, that was something. It's kind of just a UI thing. Yeah.
Yeah. This is pretty much still a beta development plugin that we've been testing out just to see how we can help our customers use it. But as you see, when I asked it for a shorter version, it still kept all the people who came to visit. It just got rid of all that extra fluff language and stuff. So you can just go, okay, let's check this out. Check this out. I mean, it says who came and what they did, which is actually pretty cool. Okay, so I haven't even saved this draft. Let's save the draft.
So yeah, we're right on course. So now, do you want to shift to exporting? Or is there anything else
That's where we're going next. So I'm going to go back to the full article listing, and this plugin allows you to a reverse publishing plugin. So this is no longer the AI side of things. We've gotten the article done, we're happy with it, and we're ready to send it out via XML so we can import it into InDesign. So our tool allows you to do entire editions, or just you can select 2 or 3 from this list. And but in this case, I'm just going to select the one we made and choose Export to InDesign XML, and hit Apply. And this is going to save a zip file onto my hard drive. So I'm going to replace that. Okay, now I need to do a little swap here.
Just as you're doing that, I want to make sure I address Kevin's comment.
Oh, absolutely.
So I would love to see what you're doing, Kevin, just so I fully understand it. I mean, we can definitely, open up the beta to your site and you can see what's possible. What you're describing, I think we could do something like that, but I just would like to see what you're doing, and, maybe we can incorporate it if it isn't already part of it. But that's really cool. That sounds super interesting. It's amazing to see.
AP style is it can be such a pain to get all that stuff, and especially like formatting, because you could include an AP style guide for certain citations in the prompt itself. So when it generates, it'll make sure to format them properly and stuff like that. It's amazing what these models are doing. So I've just switched over to InDesign, where I have just a quick template that we're using. And I need to do one more thing here before I import. Actually, I should probably, I think this will work this way. So if you haven't done any XML import in InDesign, well, actually, has anybody have some experience here? Want to shout out?
That's actually, I meant to ask that. Yeah, I meant to ask that. Does anyone have experience with? Whoops, a second.
Because it is a little on the technical side of what normally, if you're just working with normal textiles, doing layout and stuff like that, and you're just kind of copying and pasting or placing a Word document and stuff like that. That's one workflow. But this workflow, it captures, the XML captures a lot of tags and things. It knows what headlines are. It knows what subheads are, captions and things like that. So it makes it much quicker to basically import a story and just drag it into your layout. So what I'm going to do is there's a structure pane that is visible. Let's see, it's Windows, Utilities, and Structure, I think. Where is that? Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's in View and Structure. And you can also go to Window, Utilities, and Tags. So the Tags panel right over here and the Structure panel over here on the left are going to be the most important things. As you can see, it's just a root. There's nothing in here because I haven't imported the XML. So I'll kind of try to talk through this a little bit here. So this is the bulk export. There it is. But this is the photo of the storm, all that kind of stuff. So we're just going to select the XML. We're going to open that up, and I'm going to leave everything at the default. So I know this may be a little hard to read, so I'll kind of talk through it a little bit. But what it's brought in is it's brought in that story as a group of tags. There's a little arrow here, and now this is where the story structure happens. So we have the title marked as draft because I left the story in draft. And then you've got the body is in here. You can even look at all the individual paragraphs and things like that if your layout required it. But what I've already done is since I know there's styles for your headlines and your bylines and all that, you can set that up on the export from WordPress, And all you need to do is match those style names to the styles that you want to use. And as you see, this has a style of headline for both the character style and the paragraph style. And this is body for body style, and caption for caption. So basically, if I drop the headline into my headline block, it's going to have all of the formatting that I've decided upon for my headline.
So actually, can I just point out something really quick? With that, that means that a newspaper could, be publishing their print edition each week, have their own character and paragraph styles that, they've established as standards, and then they can actually fit the XML to that. So they can put those tags into WordPress as they are. You don't need to change anything in InDesign that you're doing. You just copy the label of those paragraph styles into WordPress, and then it'll add it to the tags.
Because if we take a look over here at the tag, you can see there's a caption tag, because that's the caption over here. The image, all of the paragraph and the roots, and then it's got the specific tags for each story. So when WordPress does this, this number will be the post ID. So that helps you keep everything straight. So I can now let's go ahead and drag the story body in. That's the fun part. So I've already got this columned out into 3 columns, and so you can kind of see what it's done. It's got the paragraph breaks. I'll zoom in a little bit down here, and it's even got the inline headings that were in the original post. So those can be set to subheads in there.
Okay.
Right. And I didn't actually add a byline or anything like that, so some of these won't be used. But and then the next thing you can do is it's a little quirky when you drag an image in. So I've got a graphics frame. Let's see if it'll drop it in there for me. There we go. Obviously, need to adjust the fitting. Okay. And then what I like to do is I can then just zoom in on this in the block and make it as big as we want, something like that. Okay. And I even have a caption down here. I'm going to move it over to the side a little bit so it doesn't get interfered with. But then I'll drag the caption into the caption one. Looks like there's an extra line on top of that I need to get rid of. And then you're basically working with InDesign the old way. Group the photo and the caption together, and then add some wrapping.
Exactly.
Space it out below, things like that. And then let's say you didn't have a byline on there, but you need to add one. So we can, oops, I have, there it is. There's the byline. Greatest journalist ever. Very cool. And then this would, and if you did want to decide afterwards, you want to put a subhead or something on, like you can do that.
That is one thing, important thing about our system is it's kind of just like one directional in the sense that any changes you make in, on the print side will not automatically go back to the website. So you can adjust for length and, do custom things for print, and it won't affect the digital version.
Yes, like when you're composing the article on WordPress, you can have a whole photo galleries, all kinds of stuff, all the interactive elements you enjoy when you're viewing something on the web. And then you can export all of that out, and then you can just pick and choose which images you have room for in the layout, cut paragraphs and all that kind of stuff. So you have like the web version that is going to be there forever in its form, and then you have the print version that's going to work best for your layout and how many pages you're doing for that week and stuff like that.
The space you have, exactly. Yeah.
Let's see. Do we have any questions on kind of how this process works? It's not super automated, but it's certainly faster than basically having to just copy it in and then you got to go through and find where there's italics or find where there's things, and it just automatically breaks this stuff up for you based upon the tags that it's using.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, really, it kind of if you're copying and pasting, if you're a self-service website, yeah, it would definitely save you time. If you are full service with Our Hometown, then it would save the extraction costs. So that's kind of the argument to moving towards this. So anyone on the call, if you're interested in seeing a more detailed demo of this or just a one-on-one, just you can shoot me an email or drop me a message in the chat here, and we'll set that up. And we could set up kind of a template that looks like your homepage, and we could really show you from start to finish how we would export one of your real articles, just so we can address every question.
Kevin seems he's one of our favorite beta testers.
Definitely, yeah. Kevin with Restoration Media. So this is excellent. Glad to have you on board. So I will let James know for sure. You're the best, man. You are the best. Thank you so much. We love working with Kevin, and geez, we got a lot of other customers on with us today, like I said. So you guys would be the first ones to have access to this, and it would be easiest for you to try the reverse publishing because it's just turning on a plugin for you. Now, before I transition to the outro here, is there anything else that you wanted to show, Christopher? Or
no, I think this kind of encapsulates, the basic stuff of, especially, going through, massaging all the content on the web, getting the web, as we say, digital first. That's what you want people to go see. That's what they're going to see on their phones. That's what you're going to be sharing to social media, all that kind of stuff. So you can get that at the peak of its performance, but still have an efficient workflow to get the print edition out for your customers that are, or even an e-edition for those customers that prefer that. They can still enjoy your design choices, the look of your print edition, because I know a lot of customers, a lot of publishers, they spend a lot of time making their paper stand out through how it looks on the newsstand. And you don't want to lose that, but you also want to be able to take advantage of all the online tools and still keep this print workflow in the pipeline.
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect synopsis. Yeah. So really, we're looking for testers, people that want to give us ideas to improve these features. Because, like I said in the beginning, everything that we do is based on publisher feedback. And I don't mean just like what features we offer. I mean like all the details of those features, how they work, what are the options for each one. So that's kind of our mantra here at Our Hometown. All right. So now to wrap it up, I just wanted to throw it out there. If anyone has any other ideas for AI applications or, natural language processing tools for local journalism, heard some interesting ideas for templates from Kevin today, stuff like that. I would love to hear it, and we can explore those ideas. And I always just like to plug upcoming events. We've got the Kevin Slimp webinars every month, which are free for Our Hometown customers. Your whole staff can join. Those are usually about 90 minutes. And then we've got several other product webinars coming up where we're going to talk about syncing the print and digital subscription audiences. We've got some tools to do that automatically with Simple Circ and Naviga right now, Circ Pro. So if you're on either of those print circulation systems and you're on our WordPress platform, that could save you the time of syncing up your subscriber lists so that anytime a print subscriber wanted to upgrade to digital, their name would be in the system and it would be all up to date. So anyway, that's one topic. And as you can see, we're just going to be talking about audio articles, social auto posts. We've got some app updates coming out and more Chat GPT stuff. So anyone that's not a customer yet, I want to formally offer you, invite you to check us out and allow us to do a free prototype for you. There's really no obligation at all, no contract, no cost. we would just need a sample of your PDF, and we'll turn that into an HTML mobile responsive website in about a week. And that would be sort of a simulation of what we do every week for our customers. But once you're an active customer, we do it within a couple hours. We'll turn your weekly edition into an HTML website. So that's our full service extraction. We haven't really talked about that much today, but that's kind of our bread and butter. And then so scan that QR code, or just go to this URL, ourhometown.com/contact us, or just the homepage. And sometimes I like to do a Q&A with ChatGPT. So I'll open it up at this point. Does anyone have any questions that you'd like to ask ChatGPT directly? We could do a live demo and just you could ask it about yourself. I like to kind of imagine one day it'll be like you ChatGPT'd yourself, kind of like you Googled yourself, just to see what it knows about you and how accurate it is. You can shoot your questions over now, or I encourage you all to just download it or sign up. Just with your Gmail account, you can sign up for ChatGPT and try it out there and see what it does for you there. And if you like it, then maybe we could talk about some kind of integration on your site. Let me just double check if I have any other questions.
I just brought the ChatGPT 4 up. If we do get anything, I can.
Okay. Yeah, I should have mentioned that at the beginning, so people could ask questions throughout. But maybe no. I think it doesn't look like we have any questions for the AI today. That's okay. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate you joining us, and thank you for your questions and participation very much. That's what this is all about, and I really appreciate it. This was a very engaged audience, and it was smaller than our normal audience, but actually more engaged in some ways. So that was fun. Christopher, I want to thank you so much for your time and expertise. Thank you for everything. As always, you're the best. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, all of our customers, for just sticking with our hometown. We love you guys. We've been doing this for a long time, and I'd love to talk to any other publishers on the call that are looking for some help with your website. I think we want to look at exactly what you're doing now to figure out if there's a good solution on our platform, but usually there is. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Kevin, and we'll see you all hopefully in a month. We'll be doing another webinar in August. So
and we will be following up with
we're going to follow up with the recording.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So Debbie, I think you said you were late, but you can watch the beginning again and get all the background. And please share the recording with any of your friends.
Awesome.
All righty. Well, thank you, everyone. All right. Talk to you later. Have a good one.